get gas.
Spartan. Make it quick, because I'm on the bad end of this deal.
Who squeezed the buck?
Before we start the video, I just wanted to give you guys an update on my son James. For those of you that don't know, James was in a truck accident, broke his back in 2 places, had a steel plate put in, 8 screws, 2 metal rods, and had a major surgery. They've taken the stitches out. He can walk now with a cane. He's still having a lot of issues with pain. He can move around for a couple hours a day, and then he's got to lay back down. It's been rough. We had some problems with the GoFundMe. I think they thought we were fraud or something. They locked it up. So that got kind of stopped short. We got that back opened up if anybody still wants to donate. But anywho, hopefully he'll be fully okay when this is done. I'm hopeful. In today's video, we're going to go scout a small public piece that I've been eyeing up on my Onyx app. It looks good. It looks wet, nasty, thick, but I don't know. There's kind of a parking lot there that could attract people, but it's not really for hunting. But it is public land, and it is obviously public land. So I wasn't sure if it was drawing people or not, if people were going to hunt in this thick stuff. It didn't look like it had a lot of trees. I thought maybe it would push people out. Me and Ricky decided to go over there and take a look and dive in and see what this property had to offer. The stuff adjacent to the parking lot, we immediately found hunter sign, immediately found spots where people were hunting. There's one spot where I saw a tree in a little opening in really thick cover and said, well, if there's pressure here, there's going to be a spot where somebody hunted out of that tree. We walked there was screw steps in the tree that were grown into the tree, and there was fresh cut limbs on it, meaning it had been hunted for years by the same person. You see age classes of cut limbs. And I'd show you that, but you know, Ricky double hits record and doesn't record things when he's recording. Good old Ricky. Then we found some trail cameras in there too, some cell cams, and kept pushing further and further back. So we're getting further back, and it's really thick in here, but still no rubs or anything, but Ricky just pointed out. What do you see, Ricky?
Historical rub.
Yep, that's from a couple years ago again. We'll see. I mean, it's a good area.
That ain't anywhere for sure.
Yeah, they gotta be. I mean, look at how thick this is. Hopefully this thickness is keeping people from getting to the back side of the property where we're going. Because on a map, the back side of this property looks way better. It's just a matter of if we can get back here. This is really going to be a tangle.
Might be able to go along the edge where the water is.
Maybe. So this is getting really thick in here, hard to walk through. But we are coming into beds now. That's a pretty big bed there, just matted down. And you can tell nothing's bedding there now, but this would be a jungle when this grass is up high and there's leaves on these tag alders. That would just be a jungle in there. And you'd have a little hole, a little cave,
Looks big
completely
enough.
Surrounded by leaves.
Looks big enough for a buck, but there's a little circle in here. It might be does too.
I don't know. It's one bed. But I think it's a buck bed, but I don't see much for buck sign. But these aren't the kind of trees that they rub, but you'd think we'd find some rubs back here. I want to see some rubs before I'm convinced on any of this stuff, but this, you know, they would have a hard time killing all the deer out of here. I mean, this is a pretty thick, nasty area. Oh, there's one.
Finally.
Yeah, it's pretty small. That'd be a little deer.
That's why we call it a Dan rub.
A what?
A Dan rub.
Really, dude?
That's where you hunt.
I would never call a rub a Ricky rub. Wait, never mind.
The hell you haven't.
Well, we found another axis over there that goes right into where we're going to look, but at least there's a giant Ricky rub right here. See that? Okay, as we got back here, I was a little disappointed because we came through all that brush to get back here, and found an easement for back here that the DNR is using to access further back, and that's an access people are using to get back here too. So it kind of, this remote area I want to look at is getting hit by people. I was getting a little worried because we weren't finding deer sign too much, but as we get in here, this is pretty much of a tangle, and we went down what I thought was probably a human trail because it was a little too busted down to be deer, but when we got in here, it probably is a deer trail because there's limbs going across it. Only a deer can duck under. We gotta almost crawl through.
And I saw browsing on saplings.
Yeah, and there's a ton of tracks on the trail. So I think it is pretty much just a deer trail.
Yeah.
But I have to think people are getting back here a little at least. But on the bright side, look at this. This is last year's rub. This is this year's rub. And those are of a height that I'm saying is at least a 3-year-old deer. There's even marks up in here. That's a good buck did that, and that was last year. But you'd have to think there has to be something back here. I mean, with the sign, with the terrain. But how much pressure is going to be the question. So we're going to get back in here a little ways. This is kind of a narrow strip that goes into the end of the property, and it's surrounded by private no hunting areas. And when we get back in here, we'll dictate the pressure and see if it's, you know, worth it. I mean, this is definitely a Dan rub. So we don't get, you know, 5 feet up the trail further than that rub and we hit a Ricky rub. And look at this sucker. I mean, it's almost a foot off the ground. I mean, but there is a possibility, Rick pointed out, that could be a smaller buck pulling it over and rubbing it, you know, but definitely we're going to save that one for Ricky. What do you think, Rick? Is that your buck?
As soon as I saw that, I knew you were going to pull this shit. All right, well, we found another Dan rub. Oh boy, look at that one.
It don't look very big. This is a Rick rub right here?
No. The one over here, buddy.
Oh.
Look, it's historical. I don't think they were rubbing on it last year. But it's historical.
Wow, that is big. It was at one time, probably a few years ago. And there's a couple good trails going through here. And it is, like, when you look at how thick this is kind of the only opening if something is bedding in here. I see another decent historical right there, but nothing new, nothing fresh.
Somebody was going up this tree.
Somebody climbed this?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you can see somebody hunted out of this. Yeah, and there's a good trail going right through here to a backyard.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's an open area.
Yeah. I did say when we were walking up here that this would attract people because it's a little open area with trees. I think we'll get a little further back and see what we got back there. And yeah, here's the backside of that tree's been hit too.
It's just too much human pressure in my opinion right now.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm tending to agree with you, but I want to see a little further back first. We're almost there.
Oh yeah.
Might as well check.
That looks pretty wet over there.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be very hard to get through there. So at this point, yeah, let's go over there and see about that human trail where he came to that tree stand and see if we can get through that way.
We can see if there's something on the edge of that side.
Yeah. There you go. There is a deer back here. You want to floss?
Broke.
So on the human axis, there's a lot of old rubs here.
This might have actually been from last fall. What do you think?
I don't think that one is. That could be. No, I think these are 2 years old.
Okay.
I think there might be too much pressure here. Everything seems to be from the past.
Here, that's what's going on.
Getting a little further back, and there's some high up rubs back here. Doesn't look like there's human trails going in any further back here. There's a historical right here again. Maybe this is just one of those spots where you got to get good and remote. What you got going on over there, Ricky?
I gotta go, dude.
So those rubs I just showed you were right behind Ricky, 20 yards. And the trail the rubs are on busts through and comes into here. Over here is open grass, and this trail busts through to the open grass, and a deer can't really get through his antlers through most of this. but he could get through that open grass over there, and he could get through the grass over there. It's thick over there. That's open enough for a deer to walk. So we got in here, all kinds of beds in here, like this one, and I'm saying that those rubs over there are from a buck bedded right here. And in this spot where these beds are, there's historical rubs all the way around the bedding. Around that bed over there, around this bed. I don't see any fresh rubs right here, but those rubs come out of these beds, and I think it's that buck. It's bedding right here. Historical rubs give it away, the beds give it away, the thickness gives it away. It's kind of that thing where you got to take an educated guess. You have to kind of read it. You have to be the detective.
Yep.
Figure it out. This looks like it's being used. That hunter is only 40, 50 yards that way.
Yeah.
I think I want to find something better further in or abandon this spot.
That's my thought too.
Okay, let's keep going.
Oh yeah.
There's a rub right there that is about hip high.
Hip high.
As we're finally getting into a little open stuff, when we were back there, it was so thick you could hardly even get through it. We were busting through. But we saw these trees, this little island. Oh, here's a historical here too, on onyx, and it's starting to get a little more open around here. And we're hoping that this island here of higher ground holds some deer, some bigger deer. Starting to lose hope. This is like our last chance for these deer to be here. There's beds and stuff, but I'm just not seeing the sign. Here's a historical.
Pretty good spot.
We're out at the back of the property now, and it's just a tangle. We got to where the trees are, and there's some openings. Perfect little tree to stand up here. Look at that. We didn't even have to bring a stand back here. But really, these trees should be rubbed, those should be rubbed. Well, there's a historical, but there just ain't enough buck sign for me. Really, I think, don't know what's happening here, probably too much pressure. But there's a lot of these spots out here where they look good and there's nothing there, and you just got to move on. It kind of goes to that whole thing where not every one of these spots is going to hold big bucks, and you can't just depend on a property. You got to float around and find properties that have big bucks currently. And this one, I don't feel like it does. If it does, it has one, and it ain't out here a lot, or there'd be a lot more rubs. What do you think, Ricky?
Not enough buck sign.
Yeah, I think we should stick you here, and I should just go hunt all the good spots.
I can't say what I want to say on camera.
You can, I'll just delete it. The power of editing. This is the back of the property. That's the tree we were just looking at that we said we could stand in, where the opening is that we saw in the onyx. And literally we're trying to get out of here, and you look at this, look behind Ricky here. There's no way we're getting through that stuff. There's no way. So we're gonna have to kind of scoot through the grass to get out of here. But as we started trying to find a way out and a way through this, we ran into this. There's a pretty good rub again. Probably that same buck, right? And I can see that goes into this little opening here. There's a trail here. I can see a bed that's got some use. Let's look at it once. Right here is dead end. See this? There's actually some tracks in it, so it's been bedded in recently. There's some poop in it. Come on here a little closer. See tracks? Those obviously aren't the buck that did that rubs tracks. There's some poopies, and here's a hair, because it's been recently bedded in.
Yeah.
So, you can see there's a little bit of wear on here. But you got to take this into granted. You can actually see a pretty good trail coming out of here too, this way. Obviously, there's a point in time when that buck bedded here. There's obviously a point in time when that buck bedded in that other spot we looked at. However, when we're looking at this, you got to take into account the number of rubs out here. We've covered this whole property, which isn't a very big property, it's long and narrow, but we've probably ran into maybe 5 or 6, and some of them are next to each other, rubs from this buck. All the same height range. I just don't think he's on this property a lot. I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna go to a different property. But a guy could hunt here. A guy could kill this deer. A guy does have a window here. There's a time period when that buck was here.
Mm-hmm.
He bedded here and he bedded in another spot. And if you could figure out that timing, you could kill him. This looks like it's a 3-year-old deer. I'm not really interested in hunting 3-year-old deers. I'd probably shoot a 3-year-old deer if it came by. A lot of them make Boone and Crockett, but I want to seek out those mature bucks. But if a guy was interested in something like this, he could do one of two things. He could monitor this with a camera for a year, see what's coming in and out of these bedding areas, see how much pressure they're getting, right?
Sure.
Or he could take his best guess and hunt this at a time frame, try to figure out when this deer is here. I think when this is a jungle in early season, he's going to be around. I think that he's probably here all through the season. He could be here anytime. I really don't have food to go on or anything, but I do know that this would be a jungle in early season with the grass and stuff mixed in here.
Yes.
But that could be any time from September to through rut. You know, I mean, but literally, if that deer beds here 3 times in a season, and you figure he's here 3 times between September 20th and November 1st.
Yeah.
That really, what is that, like
2 months.
2 months? 60 days?
Yeah.
If you figure in 60 days, if he's 5 times, it ain't that bad of odds. You know, it's dependent on what you're onto, what you're into and stuff like that. A guy could hunt this and have success.
I think I'd want to know the time that he's in here with a camera.
I mean, we're on a lot better stuff and sometimes we don't get any action, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then once you hunt it once, you kind of screw it up, right?
Yeah, and if you come in at the wrong time, it's screwed up.
So I mean, like my Moultrie cameras, I put them out in July or August. They're still running now. Batteries are still good.
Those cameras are crazy good.
Right. So I mean, if you put one of those in here and you monitored this, not at the bed, but in that opening. He's going to go through that opening.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Monitor that opening. One of two things. You get like, either you start seeing them come in here on a regular basis and you decide to hunt them right now. Or number 2, you just get a pattern and wait till next year.
Yeah.
Maybe at a 3-year-old he's a 90, 100 incher.
Come back from next year if he's
Yeah.
still alive.
Maybe he's 120, 130 and he's not what you're looking for. But if he's still here next year, right? So I don't know. It's something to think about. It's I'm looking for places that have multiple big bucks, have more of an opportunity, more of a chance.
Right.
Obviously mature bucks. The rubs are really high. I'm not finding that here. So that bed is right over there, and we were busting through the stuff to get over here. And this is the trail that comes into the back side of that bed. And here, right as soon as you leave the grass, look at this rub. That's going into that same bed. And that's my point, is the timing. If you hit the timing right, that deer is here. And he's using the 2 beds we found. I think we pinned this whole area down. We know the 2 spots to kill that deer. All right, let's get out of here.